Do you guys love that show, This Is Us? The other day, my wife and I were watching it, and no spoiler alerts, I hope, but it was that episode right after the Super Bowl when Jack dies. It was such a great episode. And it also had a lesson. It had a technique I want to teach you that can really help change your life in terms of dealing with feelings, difficult times, and difficult situations. It's called contextualizing. Let me give you a quick overview of it all. Just before that show came on, Linda and I were folding up sheets, and it so happened that I asked her, could you help me out? Could you give me an extra hand? And she's like, no, I'm kind of busy doing something else. And I'm thinking, really? What? What guy on the planet folds sheets and you don't have 2 seconds to help me fold a sheet? Really? I was frustrated. But then the show comes on and we're watching the show, and again, spoiler alert, Jack dies. And all of a sudden it puts into context stupid, simple frustrations that we have in life and helps us see they're nothing. And that's what I want to do today in this show, is teach you how to contextualize the hard things that are going on in your life. Hi, I'm Brett, your favorite shrink, and welcome again to My 5 Minds. This is where you're going to learn how to be better, do better, and feel better by learning the systems that work within your mind. Because that's what your mind is. It's not one thing. It's actually 5 things, 5 different minds. And if you can learn how to work those different minds, you can get whatever you want. You can be whatever you want. I want to help you do that a little bit today by showing you this technique called conceptualizing. And you do it and I do it every day. We just don't know how to take advantage of it. So let me show you how. I'm going to start you off with a story of Rita. Now, Rita was coming into the office because she was feeling really depressed. She was feeling really discouraged, hopeless, beaten. She was going through the middle of a nasty divorce. And she was full of all kinds of depression, failure, loss, and didn't know what to do with it all. It was overwhelming to her. And I wanted to help her out by changing how she was contextualizing her life. Because that, not the divorce itself, was causing the depression, but how she was contextualizing the divorce within her life. When we want to create change, what are the 3 things we need to do? First, we need to recognize our pattern. Second, we need to interrupt that pattern. And third, we need to replace that pattern. So that's what we're going to do with her. And we're going to help her see her pattern by using something that you're getting familiar with, which is a systems mind map. So let's pull out our mind map and look what's going on for her. Yes, she is going through a divorce. This we know. Yes, her emotional mind is feeling depressed. But does everybody go through divorce feel depressed? Not always. Because there's different contexts that people are in that make the divorce better or worse. So we took our mind map and we said, well, what are you doing that's creating this context for you? Or what is the context you have around marriage and divorce? Well, as we started talking about divorce, it became really clear that she was the first. She was the first in all of her family to ever get divorced. For her, she looked at her sisters, she looked at her parents, she even looked at her friends. None of them ever got divorced. Those images were coming up and she was dwelling on them in her right neocortex. Those pictures were then being transferred over to Leo. Leo is kind of take and create meaning. That's what your left neocortex always does, is it wants to create understanding of things. And in fact, when most things happen, it goes through 4 basic questions. Is this important? Sure, it is. Why is it happening? Understanding the elements involved. What power do I have? And then the final 4th question, which is where we're at, which is, what does this mean? And the meaning that Leo's going to come up with is going to be within a context. Does that make sense? I could murder somebody, but the context will change its meaning. If someone's trying to hurt me or my family, and I end up killing them to defend myself and my family, that's a different context than me walking into a store and just shooting somebody. It's the context that creates the meaning. Was that murder or was that self-defense? And that's what we got to look at with her. So the first thing we wanted to do was map it out. And as we map it out, we could begin to see that because she was dwelling on all of what has happened with her family, there was no other context. They were successful. She was a failure. And that's what was feeding the depression. And then B, her body mind shutting down. Step 2 in change. We want to create an interrupt. So I suggested we create an interrupt over into B, because that's kind of where she's getting stuck, is that she's comparing herself to all these other people. And when she does, they're here, she's there, she's feeling terrible. And I say, well, let's change how you're comparing, what you're comparing to. I ask her to think for a minute. What was her marriage like? I mean, there must be a reason for why she's getting divorced. Nobody just gets divorced because it's fun. And she started to tell me about her marriage and how hard it was. And he was an alcoholic, and he was cheating, and he was just basically unfaithful, and not really there for them. And it was a lot of pain. They already kind of were divorced, even in the marriage, because he was checked out. As we focused on the context of her marriage, I said, well, that makes a lot of sense. Given all the things that you've gone through with this marriage and with him, your divorce kind of feels appropriate, right? And she's like, yeah, I couldn't imagine still being with him. That would be a disaster. And as she shifted the frame she put around the divorce and started conceptualizing it or contextualizing it in a different way, her emotional mind, I often call Emma, starts to feel better. As her emotional mind starts to feel better, her body mind starts to improve. Energy starts to rise. She starts to feel more okay about herself, which helps her to begin to think more positively, which again helps in what she's focusing on in terms of the right neocortex. So you see how it works? Now, I'm going to summarize what just happened in a very simple rule, because in 2 seconds, you're going to get a homework assignment. And I want you to use this very simple rule to help you improve your mood. Here's how the rule goes. If you compare up, you will always feel down. That's the way it works. The reverse is also true. If you compare down, it will always lift you up. Can you see how that works? If I and my wife are at each other's throats or frustrated with each other, and I compare that moment of frustration to what I fantasize everybody else's marriage is like, I'm like, oh man, this sucks. I bet other wives would appreciate me folding the sheets, right? I'm comparing up and I'm feeling down. But then when I watch this show and I see Jack die, ooh, that's a bummer. All of a sudden I'm comparing down which helps me feel up. My marriage is pretty good. We rock. Yeah, okay, we don't always agree. Life goes on. But we rock. Homework for you, right? I want you to take a situation. And I want you to look at how you're looking at it. If you want, go down into our section below, comment sections. And I want you to see, I have linked for you a mind map. And I want you to pull up the mind map and I want you to fill it out. But particularly I want you to pay attention to your creative mind. What are you dwelling on? What are you picturing? What are you focusing your creativity on? Are they things that are above you and better than you? Or are they things below you and worse than you? Change them. See if you can feel the difference, the shift in your emotional mind as you change the context. All right, play with that. Go to the comments below. I want to hear. I want to hear how you did. I want to hear what happened for you. All right? Thank you so much for watching. I hope if you like this video, you like the video. And if you want to learn more about how to control and master your emotions, subscribe. I'm Brett, your favorite shrink, and this has been my 5 Minds. Talk to you soon.